All right, y'all. So after having graded most of your guided reading questions for Act 4, Scene 1, I was noticing that we seem to be a little bit confused about what the 4 apparitions are and what they're saying to Macbeth. And I wanted to make this video to kind of help you out with your assignment that's due on Sunday. So I'm going to ask you to just, if you're having questions or even if you've already done it, watch this video real quick because it's really important that we know what these apparitions are saying and what they might stand for going forward. You also get to see some of my terrible artwork. So this is hopefully going to clarify some of those things for you. So we have our first apparition, which is an armed head, all right? In other words, wearing a suit of armor in the head, right? And it says, "Beware Macduff, the Thane of Fife." So we want to think about a couple of things here. First of all, a few of you were pointing out Fife as like a person. Okay, Fife is just the name of Macduff's castle. So this is Macduff's castle name, all right? It's not a person, it's like a place, okay? Just like Macbeth was named the Thane of Cawdor. So it's clear to us that Macbeth is probably going to be attacked at some point by Macduff, or that Macduff is the only person that is going to be able to defeat Macbeth. Okay, so he knows exactly who his enemy might be. Now, what's important about this image is that it is the appearance of a soldier. So if we're thinking about who or what this armed head might represent, we're thinking of soldiers, we're thinking of people in the army. Remember that Macbeth himself was a general whenever he was under Duncan. So we're definitely looking for characters who are related to some of these things. All right, so that brings us to our second apparition, which is a bloody child. And this bloody child says, "No man born of a woman can harm Macbeth." Now it says child. In some drawings or depictions, it might be like a baby, but I cannot draw babies. I mean, I clearly can't draw a child either, but here's what we've got. So no man born of a woman can harm Macbeth. So what this one is saying is a little bit in contrast to what we just heard from the first one, right? If he's supposed to be aware of Macduff, is Macduff not a man born of a woman? Now let's unpack this phrase here, man born of a woman. What that means is a person born the natural way, okay? In other words, delivered without any sort of like medical interference. So this means a natural birth, all right? So I'll leave it to you to kind of figure out who this person might be if they're not someone who's born from a natural birth, all right? Macbeth glosses over that, right? He's like, oh, then obviously I'm fine because I don't know who that would possibly be, right? How can you not be born of a woman, right? You're not going to be born of something, you know, like an animal. That doesn't make sense. So he just ignores basically this and says, I'm good to go. Quickly, I want to unpack the significance of this image, right? So the image, we know that it's a bloody child. Is this bloody child a baby that hasn't been born, or maybe that has been born, right? Or is this maybe someone who has died, a bloody child that's died before? So we don't really know who this child represents, but we do know that it's not a coincidence that we're talking about a child that's bloody and the prophecy that this child is saying to Macbeth. Okay, so that brings us to our third apparition. So the third apparition is a child who's wearing a crown, so we have another child again, and holding some wood, all right? So this child says, Macbeth shall never vanquished be until great Burnham wood to high Dunsinane hill shall come against him. So this is probably the toughest one. So just to clarify, Great Burnham Wood is the name of a forest that's nearby Macbeth. Let me make that a little more clear. Okay, a forest. Okay, kind of like we would say like Central Park, right? So Great Burnham Wood is the forest, and Dunsinane Hill is the name of a hill or like area that's near Macbeth's castle, okay? So this prophecy or this apparition is saying that Macbeth will never be vanquished, in other words, beaten, until this wood, this forest, is able to make its way to this hill, okay? So now how does that make sense, right? How can a forest move? That doesn't really seem like it's physically possible, and that's exactly what Macbeth says. So he's saying, you know, I'm going to write this off. There's no way an entire forest can move locations. So keep that in mind. And again, finally, we just want to focus on the image, which we have a child again. So is this someone's child? And they're wearing a crown, right? So is this child a royal? Is this child a prince of some kind. So who might this child represent? And remember, they are holding the wood. So are they going to be responsible for bringing it? Will they be the ones to bring the forest to Macbeth and therefore signal his downfall? All right, so then we have our last apparition. So this apparition doesn't say anything, but we know that this apparition is Banquo, his ghost, right? And he is at the end of a line of 8 kings. So we have Banquo plus 8 kings. All right, and it mentions in the text that they're holding a glass. That's actually a mirror. So in the mirror, you can see, I tried to draw it for you, the line of kings is reflected. And when you reflect something in a mirror like that, it just goes on and on and on and on. So we have this endless line of kings. Okay? It just goes on and on. And at the end of that line of kings is Banquo. Or is he at the beginning? So we know that Banquo is somehow associated leading the line of kings. Is he first? Is he last? Something that I want you all to think about. All right? So this one doesn't say anything, so we don't have any verbal things to interpret, but I hope that this was helpful for you, and I hope that this helps you fill out your assignment for the weekend. I hope you guys are staying safe and you're enjoying being home, and if you're celebrating, have a great holiday, and I will talk to you guys soon.